and a Happy New Year to everyone. Even though we're only a couple days into 2025, I hope things are going well for you so far and that they continue to do so well. Do well. Something like that. You know what I mean. Yeah, even though we had our first snowstorm and the weather was wickedly cold, I didn't slow down. So we've got a whole bunch of Hoyas to show you. Yeah, what can I say? So join me with a tasty beverage of your choice close to hand while we take a look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 new Hoyas. And before we get underway, a couple more things as usual. First of all, thank you to everyone for all your good wishes and comments on the last video. It really, it made getting up that morning and reading through them all very, very worthwhile. So yeah, again, thank you. The other thing that's neat is, hold on, it's right over here. I've got a Hoya in bloom. This is my Hoya flagellata, and I'm under the impression that it has been synonymized into caudata, which, okay, as I've said often before, I'm not on the naming committee, but that's okay. It is very cool. Let's see if I can turn that up a little bit more. Yeah, and they have these nice little tails that hang out underneath. The leaves on flagellata, or caudata flagellata, are very cool, and it would appear a little dusty. Yeah, operator error again. This has been, once it got going, this has been a fun one. So yeah, happy to see it bloom again. Once it started blooming, it's a regular. So yeah, but wanted to share the blooms. This is Hoya flagellata, or caudata flagellata, or caudata formerly known as flagellata, one of those. And the first little guy up today, and most of them are little guys today, is this Hoya leucantha. Now, Hoya leucantha is native to New Guinea, the Papua province of New Guinea, and was first collected in 1912 or 1913 by Cecil Bowden Kloss on the, I'm going to try again, Utaqua River, and he was part of the Wollaston expedition in Dutch New Guinea. It was published in 1916 in Transactions of the Linnean Society of London by Spencer Le Marchant Moore. And leucantha is supposed to mean white-flowered. I picked this up because I loved the leaves. And will you focus and show everyone how beautiful they are? I guess not. I will put some close-ups on the side here. It's very pretty. I've sort of gotten into small-leafed Hoyas, probably because I figure I can still sneak this in somewhere. And this is the one you saw me move to pond, which was actually a very easy task in this case because it was in a fairly loose soil. And I settled into pond, and it hasn't died yet. So we're very happy about that. I'm going to keep you posted. It's kind of slowed down. I mean, when you repot Hoyas, they're going to slow down for a little bit. So he's kind of slowed down, but everybody still feels nice and attached. The leaves are very pretty. I will put some close-ups over here for you. But yeah, I'm excited about this one. The blooms are really pretty as well. I've seen pictures. I don't have pictures to show you because it hasn't bloomed yet. But this one came from TQ Hoyas on Etsy. And this is Hoya leucantha. And the next Hoya up is one I'm trying again. This is Hoya versteegii. Now, Hoya versteegii is native to the Papua province of New Guinea, And the location I have written down is Versteegii, and I'm not sure where that is because I couldn't find that on the map. But it was discovered in approximately 1913 by the ship's doctor on an expedition to the Dutch East Indies, and his name was Gerard Versteeg. And it was first published in 2017. Notice there's a bit of a time gap there, in Garden's Bulletin, and it was published by Nathaniel Simonson and Michaela Rhoda, who realized that it hadn't been officially published, and when they did so, gave it his name. He's not looking like much at this time, but he's got those great edges to the leaves, which is a trademark of Versteegii, along with very beautiful blooms. It came with some new growth hidden down there. So I'm really hopeful. I have one of these, but it has never done really well. I've had it for almost a year now. I'd have to check, but I think it's a year. And it's put out some tiny little bits of growth, but just hasn't, Hoyas for me grow really, really well. And this one has, that one hasn't. I mean, it's still alive. It still looks good, but yeah, so I thought, let's see if it's maybe just that particular plant. He lives down there. That's why I'm pointing down there. Whether it's just that particular plant or what's going on. So this one traveled in very cold weather. It was well packed. And that vine survived the transition. This one had a little bit of dieback, but that happens, especially when you ship a Hoya in December. So I'm excited to see what happens with this one. This one came from Lux Leaves on Etsy, and this is Hoya versteegii. Now this next one, it's another one of those where you see a picture and you say, oh, I need one of those. And this is Hoya vaccinioides. Now, Hoya vaccinioides is native to the East Himalayas, to Laos and Vietnam. It was first published in 1883 in the Flora of British India by our friend Joseph Dalton Hooker. And there are remarks on the herbarium sheet that say reg, R-E-G-H-I-M-A-L, which I'm assuming means that he found it in the Himalayan region, or region of the Himalayas. I'm not sure which. But one of those two. So this one is very neat. Let's see if I can get him to show off the leaves. Maybe not. They're very... Boy, he's just arguing with me today. We're going to have a talk during the break, camera. Very, very cute. Nice little leaves. Narrow. There's a slightly recessed vein down the center. There might be more details. I'll show pictures, of course, since camera's not cooperating. On the side here, close-ups of the leaves. There were 2 cuttings in the pot, so I was very happy about that. And yeah, this is another one of those tiny leaf, viney type Hoyas that I'm hoping turns into something kind of lush and pretty. Happy I got this one. This one also came from TQ Hoyas on Etsy, and this is Hoya vaccinioides. And the next new kid is this Hoya piestolepis. Now, piestolepis is native to New Guinea. It was discovered in trees in the woods in Gomajiji in the Waria Valley at an altitude of 450 meters. It was first collected in 1909 and published in 1913 in Botanische Jahrbucher für Systematik, Pflanzengeschichte und Pflanzengeographie by our friend Friedrich Richard Rudolf Schlechter. And this I am trying again. I got a cutting earlier, about the middle of 2024. And it did not do well. As a matter of fact, it has been promoted to compost. But I really wanted to try this. This OG leaf here is a little spotty, but there's some really nice texture and the blossoms are supposed to be beautiful. And when I saw this online, I thought, okay, this is a good chance to try this again. The name, piesto, one source I found said it may refer to flower parts, pisto, and lepis in Greek means scale or flake, because in Schlechter's description he says, scales of the corona outspread, sides very compressed. And that's interesting, his use of the word scales, so that's probably why they assumed it was Greek. And who am I to know? I don't speak Greek at all. Well, no, I know how to say, I knew the Easter greeting in Greek. But I ended up first looking it up in Latin. And in Latin, I've looked up the word, this is Google Translate. So I looked up the word lepis, and it means beautiful. And piesto means pious. So I thought, well, that works too. And then I looked up piestolepis, and Google translated that as, you are a fool. And I thought, well, that could be because I'm trying this plant for the second time. Yeah, I'm excited because there's new growth on it down in there, which is neat. That's exciting. And the new growth survived the shipping from Canada in December. So we're going to give this another go and see what happens. Keep your fingers crossed for this one. This came from Plant Haven, Toronto, and this is Hoya piestolepis. And the next one up is Hoya pulleana IMO2. Now, this one, is native to New Guinea, and it was first collected in 1913 in Western New Guinea, Papua Province, near the Lawrence River, which is also, I guess, known as Sungai Unir, near Kloof River, at 40 meters, by Auguste Adrien Pulle. And it was published in 2022 in Blumea, Tijdschrift voor de Systematiek und de Geographie der Planten, a journal of plant taxonomy and plant geography by Michaela Rhoda and Danielle Simonson. And this is one of those cute little tiny leafed Hoyas that I have been really getting into of late. Again, probably because I figure I can sneak in these tiny little ones. And again, it's named Hoya pulleana, so it was named after the man who collected it. IM is Inram La of Indonesia. I have that in my list of accession numbers. So I haven't quite found out yet what the connection was between what was found in 1913 and what was published in 2022, and why his accession number is on this. And I'm sure there's a very logical and rational explanation. But yeah, this one's been on my wish list for a really long time. And Plant Haven Toronto was having a sale, which is not a good thing for me to know at any time. So this one also came from Plant Haven, Toronto. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. It has survived. There's a little bit of shipping fuzz on that. It survived shipping from Canada in December. It's looking really good so far. The leaves feel slightly pubescent. I'll put some close-ups over on the side here. I'm excited about this. I'm glad to have it in the collection, and we're going to see what happens. This is Hoya pulleana IMO2. And next up is a Hoya you've seen before but haven't been formally introduced. This is Hoya carnosa compacta. And you saw him in my transfer to pond video. And he's still alive. The leaves still feel good, sturdy, firm, looking neat. No critters, so yeah. Now, Hoya carnosa, not this, but Hoya carnosa in general, is native to South Central and Southeast China, Hainan Island, Japan, Laos, the Nansei Shoto, and Taiwan. But Hoya carnosa compacta is a mutant variety that was officially approved in 1980. And let me read from my note. It was developed by irradiation of rooted cuttings with X-rays or gamma rays. And it was described as having the main feature of yellow-green incurved leaves. So Carnosa compacta appears in nature nowhere. It's a man-made variety. Let's call it that. It was first published in 1991 in Hoyan by Christine M. Burton. And for a plant that I always said I never wanted, I now have, well, now 3. I was going to say 2. When I repotted these into pots, some of you remember I put 4 cuttings in this pot. There were 6 cuttings in what I purchased. So I put 4 cuttings in here, and I put 2 more cuttings in their own pot. And I also have a variegated Carnosa compacta back here that I purchased as part of an experiment. I hear a lot of people talk about Carnosa compacta being a super slow grower, that a lot of people who are new to Hoyas buy Carnosa compacta because it's so neat and it's so funky, and then get very frustrated because it grows very slowly for them. So I bought that one to try the experiment of giving it different settings. It's not like it's a camera that needs the settings, but giving it a different setup. So it's in pond, it's in self-watering, it's under really, really strong light. And that one's growing pretty well. Like this is all new growth since I brought this one home. And there's new growth on the other parts. This one hasn't started growing yet. It's still settling in, but yeah, let's see what happens. I picked this one up specifically to do that demonstration because so many people had asked about moving plants to pond and how to do it. There is no right or wrong way. I simply showed you how I do it. So yeah, so this was the victim for that demonstration. It's still alive, so are the other cuttings. This one came from Jordan's Jungle in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And this is Hoya carnosa compacta green. And regular viewers will know that I do love me some Dischidia. So when I saw this offered online, I figured I don't have a Dischidia that looks like that, so I need one of those. This is Dischidia species affinity parasitica Sumatra. So cover me, show the plant. There we go. Maybe, come on. All right, be that way. Argue with Daddy. See if I charge your battery. Yeah, I'm going to see what happens with this. It looks very interesting. It looks like it's got a good start on roots, and I'm going to move it into a pot as soon as I get some more self-watering pots. It looks like it's coco coir and perlite. So, oh, there's roots coming out the bottom, so it definitely needs to be repotted. I don't know too much about this yet, so I'm going to do some more research, but it's because this leaf ends like see if I can do this. This leaf has a pointy end, and this leaf has a termination like retusa. So we're going to see what, this is just an experiment. I love Dischidia too. So yeah, this is Dischidia species affinity parasitica Sumatra. And the next one up, this is Hoya sangguensis. Now, it's native to central Kalimantan on the island of Borneo in Indonesia. It was first collected in 2021 in Sungguh Bontak, central Kalimantan, and published in 2022 in Gardens Bulletin by Sri Rahayu and Michaela Roda. And the epithet, the name, refers to where it was found, Sangguh, Sanggu, which is in Kalimantan. So that's why I kept saying that word over and over again. I saw this one, I saw the leaves, I saw the blossoms, and I had I need one of those moments. The leaves, although this one is a little beat up, it traveled fairly well. They're good, they're a little soft. The original leaves are nice enough. It's the blooms, that's why I got it. But it survived its travel in December. The original leaves, it's a thin-leafed Hoya, but they're okay. They feel fine. The newer leaves feel fine. They probably weren't happy about traveling in the cold. But again, it was well packed. It traveled quickly, so yeah, I used to be very reluctant and stop buying Hoyas in December and January and February here in the Northern Hemisphere. But I've come to find that Hoyas are far more resilient than we think. And if they're only in transit for 2 or 3 days, they're probably going to be okay. Don't quote me on that, and don't go out and order Hoyas by the bushel because I said you can ship in December. I take the responsibility that they may not make it. It may get too cold, which could happen easily. So anyway, but yeah, this is kind of a nice experiment. It seems like a much more vining thin-leafed Hoya. A lot of my thin-leafed Hoyas are mostly down here, which is why I'm looking down there. And I haven't lost where I am and drifted off again. But most of my thin-leafed Hoyas are very upright or have very slightly arching stems, like my multiflora or my loki or my decipuli, or even the occultata. This is more like Hoya iris Marie or Medusa. I think that's what that is. Well, there's a Medusa down there and an odorata. So it's more like those in type and appearance. So I think it's going to be a kind of a vining thing. It's going to get a good trellis fairly soon, but I'm out of garden fencing. It's the story of my life. I'm either out of pots or pond or garden fencing. I seem to have enough material for I have plants that were distracting me over here. I usually have enough material for organic mixes, which is this one is in, because when it arrived, it had a very, very fine root system. And I just went, I'm gonna loosen that up a bit and put it back into something closer to what it's accustomed to. So yeah, this came from Age of Foliage RS on Etsy, and this is Hoya sangguensis. My next new little buddy is Hoya species Garut, and it was never on my wish list. Let me And the leaves are pretty enough. There's a little bit of splash. You know, there's nothing dramatic. I mean, it's pretty. And it came with a nice little set of roots going on in there, and it needs a drink. This one was never on my wish list. I saw the blooms, and it was one of, I had a lot of those moments this month. I need one of those. They're long, pale yellow, kind of trumpet-shaped blooms. The comments I read about this from other growers said it grows really easily, blooms early on, and yeah, those are two phrases I really like to hear. Grows easily and blooms early on. The leaves are a respectable size. You know, it's not a tiny leafed Hoya, but it's a smaller leafed Hoya. Of course, with my luck, the next two sets of leaves are going to be this big, and my plans to get little Hoyas that I can sneak in places are going to all go awry. But that's all the information I have. The only information, I haven't given you any yet, so the only information I can figure out about this is that it's from the Garut Regency in West Java, Indonesia. We're going to see what happens with this. I hope all those things, I'm thinking, is that new growth? Not yet. So I'm hoping this does really well with a nice little root structure like that. It's probably time to move it to a larger pot to pond and self-watering. And, you know, as soon as I get some more pots, we'll get that taken care of. But I hope this is going to be fun. This one also came from TQ Hoyas on Etsy, and this is Hoya species Garut. And I'm sending out a very special Dziękuję bardzo za super thanks to Beata Tofil 5925. Thank you very much. Your support for my channel is very, very much appreciated and goes a long way to keeping things going smoothly. Thank you again. And a question for this week. I don't do New Year's resolutions or set goals for myself, but what I do try and do is come up with plans or intentions or directions where what I'm going to work toward. That's a much more reasonable way of phrasing it for me, and I don't end up beating myself up about those things that I don't accomplish. So what are your plans, intentions, or directions for 2025? They don't have to be about plants. Anything you're willing to share or post, but that could be kind of interesting. I'm going to try and get my butt out of a chair more frequently and get a little motion going on, because that would be good for me. I'm going to try and be a good boy about finding new Hoyas, but that's more of an intention, because that's not going to happen, but I'm going to be more selective. Let's put it that way. I'm going to be more selective about the Hoyas I bring into the collection. So yeah, post them down in the comments below and let's see where people are thinking. And as always, I want to thank you for choosing to spend some of your time with me this week's end. Remember to click that thumbs up like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. They're all really important to my channel. Some of the products that you've seen me use are available through my Amazon storefront, and there's a link in the description. If you'd like to help support my channel, there's a link in the description to my Buy Me a Coffee page, or there's a thanks button down here. That's all very much appreciated. Help support my Hoya habit, in addition to supporting your own. I've got links for a couple more videos over here. And as always, enjoy the rest of your week's end.